Hi, I'm Laura. Nice to meet you. I am actually in California today, and I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you today at the conference. But I'm excited to chat with you and share with you some tips and ideas and ways to work with your foster children's biological family. So, first, a little bit about me. I am a therapeutic foster home, so that means I take in kids who have a higher level of need due to behavioral or emotional concerns. I am not just a foster parent though, I also mentor and work directly with foster families all over the world. I create content online, on social media. Maybe you've seen some of my videos, but I also have one-on-one conversations with foster families all of the time so I can support and help brainstorm with them. And today I'll be talking and brainstorming with you. So throughout my lesson, I will be talking to you, but also showing clips of reenactments and scripts to use with parents and children when working through specific situations. It's just me doing the reenactment. I'm not an actor, so please keep that in mind. But there's no kids, no parents involved. It's just me providing some ideas and things to try. So specifically, I'm going to be talking about why shared parenting matters and how you can work directly with the family to help increase the chances of a safe reunification. Then I'll talk about those very first moments and first interactions, which are really important to setting the tone, a professional rapport, and open communication. I'm gonna also talk through ways that you can keep a connection strong between parent and child, even if there's limited to no contact. And I'm also going to talk about just some common, maybe disagreements or uncomfortable situations and how to navigate them. And at the very end, I'm going to be answering some of your specific questions to hopefully give you some very practical and tangible advice that you can put into action tomorrow. Okay, so why does this matter? Why are we spending the time talking about it today? And why is this so critical that you consider and have an open mind about a relationship and shared parenting with the child's biological family? For one, the parent may have a lot of insightful and helpful information to share about the child, right? So not every situation and family dynamic is one where the parent is not engaged in the child's everyday life. So at the very beginning, it is so important that we open that conversation just to learn about the child. What do they like, dislike? How do their routines work? For their favorite food? Is there a tradition in your home that you should be mindful of? Cultural and religious considerations. Just at the beginning, a relationship with the parent can help answer a lot of those questions. And I'm actually including something in your goodie bag at the conference. It's a list of potential topics to cover with the parent. Things to talk about at the beginning, maybe in an icebreaker call, just to get the conversation started. And when you do that, it also shows your respect or your openness to collaboration. This topic of a relationship between foster parent and bio parent has been heavily researched. So we know for a fact that having these relationships can decrease the number of conflicts in the future. It can help put the child at ease. When they see the adults working together nicely, they will trust you more quickly, respect you more quickly, because their mom is respecting you and having these, civil conversations, working together, teamwork. So the child will more naturally trust you and feel safe in your home. It will also put the child at ease and help them, not be as conflicted in their loyalties. When they see that everyone is working together, they're not going to worry about missing mom and loving mom, but also appreciating or enjoying your cooking or your bedroom or the toys you're offering. So the child is already, their anxiety will reduce. You may not have as many intense behaviors when everyone is working together nicely because they're not worried about it. They're not stressing about what are they going to think or what should I say. It kind of puts everyone more at ease. Okay, so let's talk about those first initial moments during an icebreaker session or your first phone call with the bio parent. Maybe the bio parent and the child are going to connect. It's been the child's just been removed. And so they're going to have their first chat, and you are also going to be talking with them during an icebreaker session with your caseworker. And these are so important because this is the chance for you to explain who you are, set the tone for the relationship, get to know, everyone involved, and start a relationship. So I'm going to show you how I would do an introduction in one of these meetings and give you some things to say and considerations for these moments. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Nice to meet you all. And Tanya, it's great to meet you. So I'm Laura. I've been a foster parent for several years. I live with my husband. He couldn't be here. Chris is his name. He couldn't be here today. He says hi. And it's just your children in our home. We don't have bio kids, no adopted kids, and we actually specialize in toddlers and elementary school kids. It's who we primarily foster. So we have, all the toys and games, homework stations. I think I have finally figured out 3rd grade math, and we have food and snacks and things that usually elementary age kids will love. But I look forward to talking to you more and learning more about your kids and helping them in easing this transition. I am here to help. I'm a part of the team. So Tanya, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. Also, if there's any concerns, I do hope you'll, bring those up and we can talk through them. And again, I'm part of the team, and I really hope the kids can return home soon. After those first conversations, you as the foster parent can have a lot of power in the relationship. And so I only say this very directly because it's important to think about your role and what you are managing. I know you have the child here who maybe misses their parent or is afraid of their parent. They have trauma, right? We're seeing those behaviors, those trauma responses in our home. We're now maybe hearing about some of the things that they encountered or experienced. You're also going to, your 100 appointments in the first month. So there's a lot to manage, but I want to just take a pause in that you do have a lot of control over the relationship. And so it's really up to you in many cases. Of course, every situation is different. In many cases, you can dictate how open or shut those doors are in communication. Now, of course, there may be court orders that limit how much contact that happens, but I only say this and want to pause on this moment because we have control and we have our own comforts, but we also do have to compartmentalize a little and think about what is best for the child and their family. And in many cases, when a child is on the path to reunification, having that relationship will help encourage that reunification to occur. It will help in all of those ways I previously talked about. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page is you can open those doors as much as you want. If you feel that calls and video calls from your home between the parent and the child might be beneficial, start to think about it and explore that. But first, I'm going to kind of give you some examples and ways that you can, as a foster parent, help that bonding experience and help keep the parent and child connected regardless of how much contact there is. So here's some examples. Yes, I'm wondering if it's at all possible at some point to get a picture of Tanya or the family so I can put it up at the house or even just print for Sam to have in his room. I know you miss Mom so much. Here, why don't we draw her a picture and I'll save it so next time we see her, we can give it to her. So what is your favorite memory with Mom? Is there anything you did that was super fun? Yeah, going to the beach? I was thinking we could create like a memory book. I got this cute little notebook and we could decorate pages or cut out pictures from a magazine to illustrate a favorite memory. So then if you're ever missing Mom, we can open the memory book and talk about some of your favorite things together. Okay, and later today we have that appointment. Remember, you're getting your braids done? Cool. So I packed some recent art projects that Sam has done, and I also packed a jump rope. He really wants to learn how to jump rope, and so if you want, it's in there if you want to teach him. So Sam is still pretty resistant to the visits. He's saying each time he doesn't want to go. I'm wondering if there is a counselor or a coach that could help at the visits, at least for a few sessions, just to kind of help them bond and connect and put him more at ease. Hey, I'm so glad you could come to the game today. How's it going? Good. It's been a really good week. Sam got an A on his spelling test. Yep. So, and he's super excited that you're here for his game today. You look so awesome. Okay, let me take a picture for your mom and I'll send it to her. You want to call mom to say goodnight tonight? Sure. Okay, let me get her on the phone. Hey, Tanya. Yeah, Sam is just getting into bed. We're going to read here in a minute, but he wanted to say goodnight. Yeah, I did want to let you know that Sam has been struggling at school. Yeah, just, acting out in class, disrupting, talking. So the teacher did call and let me know, but I wanted to let you know too, in case you wanted to talk to him about it, or we could maybe schedule a conference with the teacher for all of us to talk. Okay. I want to let you know, I also included in your goodie bag a full list of these kind of brainstorm of ideas of way to keep the connection between parent and child. So look in your goodie bag for that full list. I do want to call out an important nuance as well. So sometimes you may have a child who fears their parents, is super triggered by them, who has expressed very outwardly that they are mad and don't want to talk about their parent, don't want to see them, all of that. So we will need to kind of adjust the way that we're presenting and incorporating the family into our home based on how the child is responding and reacting. So we would never want to, for example, display family photos on the mantle if the child in our care is saying, I hate my mom, I never want to see her again. So always talk to your therapist, loop in the professional team, let them know what's going on. But I just want to kind of add that little caveat that we will always need to center the child and think about their needs through all of this. Visits are such an incredible place to keep a connection alive, to support the parent and foster a relationship. And so I want to walk through how we could prepare for visits. Now, it's important to note that your caseworker may want the parent to provide all the supplies, the snacks, food, whatever the kid will need during the visit, maybe toys and activities. But it's okay for us to also ask if we can provide special items to help with bonding. And so I want to give you some examples. So let's go ahead and pack a bag together. Preparing for a visit can be a really important part of being a foster parent and help building that connection, not just with you and the parent, but also between the child and the parent. So I like to still bring a few things, definitely ask the caseworker, of course. And these are really just gonna be bonding activities, toys, or like special things. If we're outside, I usually will use a backpack, just because maybe they're at the park and walking around. But if they're inside, it is a visitation center, I will bring like a little bin. And I like kinds that have holes so then the parent and child can easily see what's in here. First, I usually include the child and say, what would you like to bring to your visits this week? Any special toys? Anything you want to show your dad or mom? Like, what do you want to put in? So I usually get their input. I always send a visit journal. This is a great opportunity to record milestones, ask questions, remind parents of upcoming needs or appointments or things that are going on in the kid's life. So if they have a big spelling test tomorrow, you can put it in here and the parent can show their excitement or encouragement. Don't buy any journal that is super pricey. Sometimes these get lost. I also, kind of have an open mind. If I don't hear from the parent or they're not using it, I will still continue to put in small little updates. So start with the visit journal. Other things you can include are just items you're giving. So like schoolwork, photos that you've taken. I recommend getting a photo subscription like through Chatbooks. It's very affordable and you can easily print right from your phone and you get photos every month. So you'll always have fresh photos for the parent and for your life book. I also include sensory activities that can be fun for imaginary play with their parent, but also can be stress relieving. So like Play-Doh and try to like keep things a little organized in the bin so it's not like a big mess. For older kids, you can always pack homework. And that is a great thing for a parent to do with their child. They can stay up with how they're doing in school. They can also show that they are in tune with the educational needs of their child. And homework needs to get done. So pack the homework and see what happens. It's always like a good thing to try. Also include like a game that's more of a group activity, like picture charades, because then that can reach a lot of different ages. It's a time to be a little silly and goofy and laugh together. I will also pack sometimes like hair salon supplies or things to paint nails. You know, just try to think about things that you would do with your parent and things you would do to bond or connect. And those are the types of things I include. I used to, you know, do my mother's hair and put makeup on her, and it was a memory, a fond memory. I still remember that today. So I think through that. And then also don't forget any type of comfort items. So this will be very specific to the child, but if there's a certain item that is their like comfort blankie or like a stuffed animal, something, or even a sensory toy, chew toy, if they're stressed out, make sure you include those too. This is a good place to start. It's easy to carry, and they can put it in the corner if they don't want it. Or if they're really not into it, you can leave it in the car. And I always leave it up to the parent, and I'll, you know, collaborate with them. Do you want me to bring these types of things or no? I will still bring like homework and journaling though, just because I do want to be able to communicate with them, and oftentimes homework is excessive in the evening and it needs to get done. For outdoor, there's a lot of opportunity to connect and play and, you know, sharing that together. So things like, you know, bubbles or a ball I might pack, and I change it up, and again, collaborate with the parent. You know, jump ropes or even games to play like tossing. I love that. You know, just think about things that, again, you like to do as a kid, things you guys do in your house, and ways that you can encourage fun and laughter and play. You could also bring chalk or even larger items, again, with worker approval, but riding a bike or a scooter, you know, so that parents don't miss these important milestone moments and can contribute to these big moments in a child's life. For example, when they learn to shoot hoops or ride a bike without training wheels. Yes, there are logistics. Yes, this is not easy, but again, it's setting everyone up for success. It's showing that you are committed and you want to, you know, provide opportunities to the parents and don't want to take from them. And, you know, that you're a part of the team and that you're willing to go the extra mile. That's going to be meaningful and will help establish and develop your relationship with the parent. Now, of course, as with everything in child welfare, things do not always play out as perfectly as we learn in our training or what I'm even talking about today. So I do want to talk through some concerns and issues that may arise and give you some tools and practical things you can do in those moments. So generally, you might have disagreements in how everyone is parenting. They may have an expectation of what they want you to do and how you to respond or take care of their child, and you may have a different opinion. Whenever, you know, you enter into a new relationship, try to wipe the slate clean. Even after problems and disagreements, I try to wipe a slate clean. And I try to ground myself in what is happening in front of me. There's a crisis. A family has been severed. And yes, things have occurred. Problems have happened. But as foster parents, we do need to remember that the goal for most cases is a safe reunification. And we must believe with that changes can occur, that circumstances can change. That is the point of the case plan. Parents can get help. They can go to rehab. They can get anger management, go to therapy. All of those things can happen, and circumstances do change. And so I try to compartmentalize a little of my feelings or anger, and so that I can think clearly on how to, you know, be professional. Okay, so the first thing that might come up is just disagreements in parenting. And so it's important that we document what's happening, what the disagreement has been about, what the concern has been, and let the caseworker know so they can potentially intervene or help mediate the situation, or pick a side and say, we're going to do it this way or this way. I encourage you, you know, to keep an open mind, try to be empathetic, put yourself in their shoes, and also be aware of cultural differences. And maybe that's where it's coming from. And so pause a minute, step back, and kind of look at the bigger picture before starting to resolve the conflict. Here are some things to do in the moment if an issue occurs. Okay, I hear you. So I will type up your concerns and submit it to the caseworker so we're all on the same page, and then we can come up with a plan to address it. Okay, I appreciate the feedback. I will work on that. Thank you. Okay, I totally hear you that you would like her hair a certain way. I am more than willing to try, but it might be helpful if you could provide a picture, or at the next visit, we could do it together and you could show me exactly what you want. Or if you're open, I'm happy to take her to the salon and see if I can get permission for you to come with us, and we can talk it all through then. Okay, I'm gonna have to end the visit. I know that might make you super angry, but I'm not comfortable continuing until we have in writing what the rules are. And so I will let the caseworker know that I canceled the visit. And once we have a plan in writing, then we can reconvene. Okay, so why don't we pause this discussion? Let's change the topic to something more positive and lighter, and let's put a pin on it and talk about it at our next team meeting, okay? This is not a great time. Let's focus on having fun. And, I brought some chalk. I was wondering if, Sam, do you want to show your mom how you could do the hopscotch? Another common concern I hear is privacy. Foster parents, myself included, like to maintain their own privacy. It's their life. They don't want their phone number, their address out there. Sometimes these things happen, and sometimes you will want to share that, but on your terms. So here's some things you can do to set yourself up for success so you don't have to worry as much. The first thing that you can do is set up a Google Voice number. If you're not familiar what that is, it is free. It's a phone number. You pick the phone number, and essentially it forwards calls to your personal cell. So then you don't have to give away your personal cell, and also Google keeps track of text messages and calls and time. So it is a way to document everything in a more clean and organized way because it's not included with your personal cell phone usage. I also recommend to lock down your social media, change your name, use an initial or a nickname, change your profile picture to be not your face and your cover photos, and make it private. If you don't want people involved or getting to know important details or intimate details, then make your social medias private. And lastly, establish the boundaries at the beginning. So if you're concerned about this, let the caseworker know, remind them at the beginning, I prefer my last name to not be on documents, or here's the phone number, just reminding you this is the one I like to share with families. Saying those things at the beginning and reminding them can help set the tone, and because we all forget things and make mistakes. So I always like to remind people at the beginning. Another concern I hear is that parents maybe are pushing boundaries or contacting too often. If I give them my number, are they just gonna call and text and want things all the time? So sure, that might happen. Think about, your child. If they were off somewhere, you would want updates and what's going on and ensuring their safety. And so here are some examples of ways to, dictate boundaries and also hold them. Yeah, so my work time is from 9 to 4 each day, and so I really can't text or take calls. But just so you know, I will call you or text you if there's an emergency with Sam. So don't worry, I will just call you direct and let the caseworker know. But I just want to let you know, if there is an emergency, I will connect with you. I would prefer for my information to be private, so my last name or address, and I use a Google Voice. So if you are giving Tanya my number, can you give her my Google Voice number? Yeah, let me get it for you. And is it possible to have some rules or guidelines for visitation or phone calls, just so we can all align? I know sometimes there's a confirmation needed if they're gonna attend the visit, and then there's usually a set amount of time that we wait until the visit's canceled. And ultimately, if there's anything that I should know if we're doing phone calls at home, that are against the rules, and I just would love to have that in writing. I always try to, give a little leniency and grant some grace because we are all human. They're in crisis. So for every tiny little thing that comes up, I don't always report everything immediately. I try to resolve directly with the parent because sometimes, inserting a caseworker changes the tone. They may not trust you as much. And I like to, show that we can resolve conflicts and talk openly about problems. And so, That's how I usually set the tone. I try to manage things on my own. I'll still document it though, because I do like to have record of any issues. And especially if there's a concern about something I'm doing as a parent, I do like to report that, just because things can spiral out of control sometimes and turn into a false allegation. And I do like to always be organized for that. But little things here and there, about hair care or what they're eating, how they're doing the homework, whatever it is, I try to resolve that in the moment. And I also try to be lenient and understand that everyone has bad days, including myself, and try to approach it just as a human relationship. That usually sets me up for the most success. Of course, though, if things are becoming difficult or repetitive or the same things are happening, always involve the caseworker and they can help schedule a team meeting, bring some things up and help resolve things in a professional manner. All right, so I know I've given you a lot to think about. Hopefully you've taken away some things that you can put into practice immediately. I want to spend the next few minutes answering your questions. So these are specific questions from you all. So I'm going to answer them and provide some ideas on your specific situation. Okay, as a new foster parent, how do you get over the fear of working with an unstable bio parent? Now, this word unstable, I definitely hear it a lot, especially as it relates to bio parents. And so first, I would look at who used that term. So if it's the caseworker that's labeling the parent this way, I would ask a little bit further what that means. And that response may put you more at ease, or at least help you kind of understand what the situation is. And just know that the way they treated maybe another foster parent could be different than the way they treat you, right? Because you're going to approach it differently. You're going to have a different tone, a different demeanor. You're going to provide different care for their child. And so just know and have an open mind that hearsay or another person's situation will be different than yours. Okay, if it's you that's feeling this way, it's totally fine. One way to kind of frame your thinking is at the beginning of a case, this is a chaotic situation. This is a crisis. And so we wouldn't want to label someone or hold on to our opinions of someone during a crisis situation. Because they're frantic, they're worried, they're scared. And with your communication and your openness to work together, they could become more stable. Of course, that's not the case all the time, but I would encourage you to have an open mind and maybe wait some time, a couple weeks, a month, and then reapproach and try again and see if the tone is different. Some practical things you can do is start slow and ease in. You can start with that journal. You can provide, back and forth communication. You can keep it simple and focused on the child as a way to start that communication. And you can also potentially open up to emails. Now, not every parent is going to have access to a computer and email, but perhaps, and you can offer it because emails is a little bit more professional usually. It's documented, so if there's problems, you have everything in written form. So perhaps start there and then build onto it. And remember, this doesn't have to happen, the building doesn't have to happen overnight. It can take months to build a rapport, gain trust, and get to a place where you're more comfortable in communicating more frequently. If perhaps an icebreaker session was missed by the team and you didn't have kind of a formal initial meet and greet, you can always request a team meeting. A meeting of the minds, a place to kind of meet, chat about how things are going, talk about strengths of the family and the child, and also areas of concern. Sometimes this will provide a clean slate and sets the tone moving forward that everyone's going to be professional and working well together. And lastly, sometimes there are mental health crises that just take time. Look to your caseworker for direction on that. And sometimes we do just have to sit and wait and allow the parent to get the help they need before we start to communicate and have a relationship. So yes, sometimes you will run into a family that just doesn't want to work with you and maybe are working against you. And I always start my thinking in, I cannot control anyone. There will be people who don't like me, who don't want to talk to me. There will be families who just want to keep things private. And I can't control that. That is on them. So instead, I think about what I can control. And I employ some of the same tactics I would with a child in my care. and I am going to create felt safety. And so what that means is I'm consistent, reliable, and they know what to expect with me. And that comes in how I communicate, my tone, my demeanor, when I communicate. All of that I try to maintain as consistent as possible so that they always know what to expect and they can rely on that. I will also try to stay as consistent as possible in my support and encouragement of the family. So I use language like your child. At an exchange of the visit, I will, make sure I'm encouraging the child and say things like, "Oh, sweetie, did you have so much fun with mommy today?" Or, do you want to give mom a hug? Or, "I know you're going to miss her so much, you don't want to go." Just to show that I'm on their team. I'm not trying to work against them. And even if I'm frustrated and angry inside at maybe something that has occurred in front of the child, I try to always be, again, consistent and clear in my support and encouragement. And from there, I can't really control anything beyond that. Of course, if things are becoming verbally, physically abusive, if things are threatening or dangerous, I always get a caseworker involved. I document it, and sometimes we do step back in communication. I always try to keep that journal consistent and consistently showing up in that way and keeping that door open. But at the end of the day, I follow the caseworker's direction on what they suggest happening in these moments. So for me, I tend to have the same boundaries from the beginning, and I can build from there. But I sat down with my husband, Chris, and kind of thought about what was most important to us and what we needed. For us, we valued our privacy, so I asked for, my last name, my personal cell number, my personal email, and my address to be private when possible. And I also asked for respect during my work hour time. So I typically will not communicate with the parent or respond to them during my work hours. So as a case approaches TPR, I definitely try to keep things as consistent as possible, and I don't change how I'm approaching communication. The reality is anything can happen. Judges can go against recommendations, things can be continued, a parent can make a major change, appeals can occur. And so I keep on pushing forward and communicating and including the parents. So definitely there's still times of concern during visitation. So first, if you are monitoring phone, video, in-person visits, I always set the expectation at the beginning that I will provide visit summaries to the caseworker team and to submit to court. It's part of my job as a foster parent, and what that includes, I usually tell them when they arrive, observations of the visit, and when the visit concludes. So they kind of know ahead of time that I'm going to be providing feedback. And I like to do that just so everything is out in the air and, I respect them. And I'd want to know what is reported on me. As I mentioned before, I do like to know what the guidelines are, what is and isn't allowed to happen at the visit, and I share that with the bio parent. Don't assume that the caseworker did. They need to be informed of what the rules are. Now, if I see something against the rules during a visit, I do intervene at that moment, especially if there is a safety concern. I like to mention what rules being broken, redirect, and try to just carry on with the conversation. So I know we are starting the calls today. I just want to make sure, did the caseworker give you the guidelines and the rules of the calls? And just so you know, I put the phone on speaker and I listen in. That's one of my jobs as a foster parent. And I will also submit to the caseworker and to the attorney like a summary of the visit, just so you're aware. I have to document when the call starts, when the call ends, and just any general observations. And that's about it. But I just wanted you to know, just so you're aware, that I am here listening on the call. Sorry to interrupt you guys. So it's actually against the rules to talk about the case and timing and specifics. A case manager has to be at the visit or at the meeting to talk about it. So I'm so sorry, we have to change the topic. Oh, hi. Who's this? Okay, so it's against the rules for anyone else to join the visit. It's just supposed to be you. So I do have to have direct permission. Maybe we could call the caseworker and see if we can get her on the phone. Otherwise, we can't have them here at the visit. Okay, I need to just jump in real quick. Let's wrap this conversation up. Sam is pretty upset at this point, and this is not a productive conversation. And I will talk to the caseworker myself, let her know that this was on me. You're welcome to call her as well, but I don't feel comfortable continuing this conversation. So let's wrap up, and we will, have another call at our time tomorrow. Now, definitely there could be concerns before and after visitation, and similarly, I will also report those items too. Now, it's important to remember that we should only state observations. Don't assume you know what the child or parent is thinking. So you could be stating a quote, what the child said to you, and you could state what you can visually see. So is the child crying? Are they screaming? Are they having nightmares, bathroom accidents, things like that? I summarize all my notes, and I submit to the caseworker, and I do submit to whoever is the court advocate, so the attorney, the CASA gal. I submit to both just to make sure that the record is accurate. So cutting contact is often not dictated by me. A caseworker will usually jump in and dictate what kind of contact is allowed or not allowed, or a judge will issue contact orders. And so I personally wouldn't cut everything off. I would still at least do a visit journal to provide updates and photos and things like that. But ultimately, if a cutoff is needed, that comes from the team, not necessarily me. Now, there has been times where I have been the monitor for a visit, and I've asked for someone else to monitor because there's issues or concerns that I haven't been able to resolve between myself and the parent, and would like a third party involved. So that is something you can do and ask for and consider, even phone calls and videos. Bring it up if you need support with monitoring those visits. So manipulation does occur. And again, I always try to remind myself, this is a very traumatic situation. People can be desperate. So I take manipulation seriously. Make sure that you are reporting things to the caseworker, especially because sometimes things can lead into a false allegation. You can also spend the time digesting and working through this difficult situation with the child. Sometimes kids are honest with what's being asked of them from their parent. Sometimes they're not, but maybe some things are happening. So you can always reflect with the child and say, how was the visit? How did it make you feel? Do you have any questions or concerns? And starting there. And you can also preface, if you want to share anything with me, I'm here to listen. Nothing is off limits. I separate that conversation and will sometimes chat with kids more generally or at a different time about consequences or the way foster care works. Some kids don't realize that if it doesn't work out with you, they get to go home, and that's just not the case. Sometimes parents don't really understand. And so sometimes I will just like to talk generally about how foster care works, how placements work, how homes are decided, where kids go, and what the judge's role is. And sometimes that background information can be helpful and help kids make decisions and navigate these situations. Now, if a child is put in the middle and discloses to you about their parent requesting them to say or do something, you can offer them some things to say in the moment if they're not comfortable, and validate their feelings, worries, concerns, discomfort. You can offer them a third party, someone to talk to, the caseworker, their advocate, someone, CASA, someone that they can talk through, because they're sort of in the middle, right, between maybe you and their parent, and continually reinforcing that these decisions of them being in foster care is not up to them. They don't hold that burden. Nothing, this isn't their fault, and it's not right that they're put in that situation. And continuing to emphasize that, and also you not personally punishing or getting upset with them for a choice they've made, you staying neutral will also help encourage kind of honesty in that situation. And lastly, you can advocate for the child to join a support group for youth their age that are in foster care. These are sometimes hard to find, but I would challenge your caseworker to help you find somewhere. And these types of issues can be discussed in support group with a professional facilitator. A lot of kids feel like they're in the middle and having to navigate these situations and getting requests from their parents. And peer support can be really helpful, and it takes you out of that equation. They can speak openly and freely. Facilitators are still mandated reporters, and so they're protected in that sense, but seeking out a group for them may be really helpful. That's it. All right. Thank you so much for listening and engaging today, and I hope that you've learned something new or reminded yourself of something that you could do to maybe improve or resolve a situation. And I am here to help. So you're welcome to reach out to me, and my contact information will be provided to you in the goodie bag. So feel free to reach out if you have follow-up questions or want to talk through something. I offer, one-on-one conversations with foster parents for free. It's part of my mentorship. And I hope to hear from you. And I hope that you found something today that will work for you, and I wish you all the success. And again, thank you for your service and for being there for the kids and their families and prioritizing that relationship. It is very meaningful, even at the end of the day, if you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and you feel like you're a failure. Please know that every moment counts and every moment matters, and I appreciate you. So thank you for caring so much for these families.